You're listening to Catalyst for Change, and my name is Jessica Huckabee, your host. I started this podcast to learn what makes people resilient after challenging events and how they've used those series of events as a catalyst for change in their life. You'll hear stories of resiliency and strength, so get ready, sit back, and be prepared to be inspired. So, Mika, thank you for coming on my podcast, Catalyst for Change, Stories of Resiliency, for part 2, so we can learn a little bit more about the tools that you've used in your career and in your life to help other people, things that you've learned from your mother's amazing story and the things that she's taught you. I'd really love to know more about what made you so resilient and what you're doing to pay that forward.
So I attribute a lot of my success to my mother, who was my pillar of strength, who was the person who believed in me, believed that I could do whatever I wanted, but also reminded me that the quality of my life was determined by the quality of my contribution to society. So she was my mentor. I saw what she did. And so it was very natural for me to look at those things and sort of model my life. Even though I didn't become a CPA, I became an attorney. I actually did not even begin my journey in the law until I was in my 30s. After graduating from Cal, I was involved in several things, mostly things I enjoyed, such as theater, writing, editing, business ventures, and countless hours of community work. Mommy wanted me to gain some practical skills because she saw what I was doing and she was kind of confused, like, where are you going with this?
Yeah.
So she had me encourage me to take additional classes after I graduated, and I eventually took all the classes I needed to sit for the CPA exam. But I didn't see devoting my life to CPA work. I was just interested in so many things. I had worked initially in publishing, participated in this summer program at Stanford, and after meeting so many authors and editors from all over the country, I decided I wanted to have my own small, publishing firm. So I did that with a partner who was a lot more experienced in publishing, who was from New York, moved to California. We were very successful for a while until I got interested in other things. I enjoyed that work because I was exposed to different types of businesses. And at that time, I just wanted to have something fun to do and where I could use my skills, and then also the ability to generate income and save a lot of the money that was earned. I also did some marketing work before I worked as an accounting clerk. So after I finished those classes, I worked as an accounting clerk so that I could, quote, learn what to do in the office or have some office skills, as my mom put it.
Yeah.
And then eventually I worked as a junior auditor. And then throughout this time, as I mentioned, I was always volunteering. I volunteered for various organizations. And my mom did. That's what I saw growing up. These organizations focused on, some on women who were transitioning into the workforce after experiencing trauma, and others who were focused on immigrants. Nothing made me happier than knowing I was doing something. I was making a difference in other people's lives. I just enjoyed that. It was fun.
Yeah.
All those activities after school, wanted to do more than just homework. So I would volunteer and then I would come home and do my homework. And I still stayed on top of it. My mom, she appreciated what I did because she saw herself in me. She was involved in her own causes, but as I mentioned, she was kind of confused as to what I was doing career-wise. So she wanted me to commit to a more specific path and encouraged me to take the LSAT and apply to law school. But I was already working. I was comfortable with the different things I was involved with. But I did. I took the LSAT so I can gain additional skills and advocate in the way that I wanted through my volunteer work. It was a practical decision, add skills and be more marketable. I would say, if not for mommy and my husband Anthony, I would not have been an attorney later in life. When I was dating my husband, I didn't seem to have this one thing I wanted to do. I just wanted to do different things. And one day during one of our drives, after having had conversations with my mom and sort of her encouragement, I told Anthony, who was we were best friends right from the start. I told him, what, I think I'm going to try this. I want to go on this path and see if I can, make this next path, that's the third career. and he looked at me and he said, okay, I'll be here to make sure that happens. And we were just dating.
What a good support.
Yeah, but he was very sure that he was going to stick around, right?
Yeah.
So, he made sure he made that happen, and he stuck around. And every day, to this day, he's been my rock through these challenges with my mom's battles and just struggles with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. He was there. He was my mom's favorite.
Oh my goodness. How neat. And so tell me about those challenges. So you switched career. So you were in publishing, then you switched to accounting
Yes.
and the CPA and junior auditor, that type of thing. And that must have been a big challenge to be switching careers in your 30s. Tell me about that.
So I would say that the challenge was very exciting because I was exposed to, in publishing, some writing, a lot of marketing, a lot of business negotiations. And also during that time, I was very fortunate to have had so many friends in the Silicon Valley, for example, and some friends from also in SoCal and around here in the Bay Area who were very involved in business. And so I was always part of a project. These entrepreneurs, they would always ask me for maybe a piece of writing, or can you help me figure out this contract? And so the skills I used when I worked as a publisher and as an editor, and also later on as a accounting clerk, and then as a junior auditor, those were always useful in those specific areas. But then when I switched to the law, of course, in the beginning, I didn't do that much work in finance because, my first job as an attorney was as a deputy attorney general with the Attorney General's office. So I was handling civil rights cases, constitutional law issues. I didn't have to work with P&L sheets.
Yeah.
The transition was actually was challenging and exciting. It wasn't impossible. I mean, it was really, embrace the challenge. I was up for the challenge. I felt very blessed that I could go to school. I felt blessed that I didn't have to worry about, some people, they have to worry about loans and things like that, for school. Whereas as for me, mommy had the resources, whatever you want to do, whatever lessons you want to take, there's enough funding for that. And so I focused on just working, first on school and then working at the AG's office. Transition wasn't that hard. I had some really incredible mentors at that place, and a few of them are still around. We're still friends, and we keep in touch. And so as far as the changes, the transitions, the biggest change I would think involve transitioning from the work at the AG's office and then working for a private firm, where I worked with somebody who had sort of a different worldview and appreciation for women. And it was a challenge because here I was, somebody who had experience in business, who was also mentored by, my mom and my sister, were very strong women. And I was working for a firm who was just not appreciative of what I was bringing to the table.
Mm.
And so at that time, I was learning a new practice area. I did, the switch was from doing litigation, constitutional law issues to doing estate planning, probate and real property litigation. I worked only for about 2.5 years for that firm. And that was also a catalyst for change because I realized when I was working there that I could run my own show again.
Yeah.
And I could use those finance skills and writing skills and business skills that I have always used in the past. And that's when I decided I was going to launch my own firm. So I launched my firm, Domingo Law Group, in 2017. And we do estate planning, probate, and trust litigation. And I would say that all those skills that I've used before, I am able to use them now as an entrepreneur, as a managing partner. And I'm very grateful to have had those opportunities. I'm grateful to have had those challenges. The switch from public to private sector, and also the challenges with having a superior who didn't believe that women should be treated equally, and fighting for my my rate increase, my salary increase, which I did, and I did very well to stand up for myself. And I think I would not have been able to do that if not for my mom and my sister and mentors and friends around me.
Yeah, and now you have a better understanding of what women go through and minorities may go through, people of color, and how to be an advocate for them and do the work that you're doing. So it sounds like it taught you a lot of really valuable lessons, that challenging time of working
Yes.
for someone who maybe didn't appreciate your skills because of your gender or ethnicity or whatever it may have been.
Yes, I really feel that those challenges help me prepare so that I can continue to help others and I can continue to be a mentor for those who may be going through similar challenges. I am very much involved in volunteer work and in advocacy. Advocacy is a powerful and important catalyst for change. I believe that if you're in a position to help create that change, it is your duty to do that. To me, it comes naturally. It's what we've always done, as a family. I think I may have mentioned to you that prior to my career in law, I was very involved with organizations that provide assistance to those in need, and mostly women and immigrants as my focus. And now, as an attorney, I have the privilege to work towards changes, those changes that we want to see in our society to help others. So one of the organizations I'm very involved with is the California Women Lawyers. So we're a statewide organization that promotes the advancement of women in the legal profession. I have been on this board for almost 5 years, and I'm currently on the executive board as a second vice president and serve as co-chair of the Judicial Evaluations Committee.
Mm.
And it is one of my most important work. This committee evaluates candidates for judicial appointment. So after an evaluation and a board vote on that evaluation, we provide a report to the governor's office. So we review and revise judicial evaluation procedures when necessary. I think we make a huge difference as we participate in this process of helping evaluate individuals for a position on the bench. I'm very proud of the work that we do as an organization, and we continue to do that. There are amazing women in that group on my board, and feel very fortunate to have that opportunity to serve with this organization. I also am very involved with our local bar association, the Contra Costa County Bar Association. I I chair the diversity committee, and now in my third year, I also serve on the executive committee. So we work on several things, and actually we changed our name now to Diversity and Inclusion Committee, so DEI. And we seek to educate our community about ways we can promote diversity and inclusion in their legal profession. So that may include encouraging firms to hire diverse attorneys, staff, and vendor. This year, we really have an amazing, just a growing committee, and I'm seeing more focus on social justice. I'm just surrounded by other advocates who are willing to put in the work to strive for equity. So their passion is very inspiring.
Now, what would you tell women, girls, people of different nationalities and backgrounds and ethnicities? What would you tell them on what tools would you hope that they would learn to propel themselves to the next level in their career, whether they're deciding to go into law school or deciding to go to a private firm or work for the government in some capacity? What tools have you learned that you can share with us?
I would encourage others to embrace challenges and embrace the opportunities that come their way. So sometimes you have an idea as to what you want to do, right? You have this idea you're going to be X type of person in Y type of career. But sometimes there are things that happen that may be that may delay that process, right? If you look at these other things that happen as opportunities for growth, and you go through those different things, and maybe you go back on that path to do whatever it is you're intending to do, if you look at those as learning experiences, you frame your challenges as experience, then you are able to use all those tools that you learn from each experience and apply them to whatever your next thing is. Because sometimes especially when there are expectations of what you're supposed to do, I'm very fortunate. My mom never asked us, and me and my sister and my brother, to do whatever. She encouraged me to take additional classes, to have office experience. But, she would say, well, if you want to do that, fine. But I want to suggest this as well, as a practical matter. But sometimes, especially with women, there are societal expectations, expectations from family that they're supposed to be a certain way. I would encourage others to just really appreciate who you are and who you are becoming. And because when you do that, when you have that level of confidence that you can do what you want to do, right, then there's no limit to what you can do. And if there are setbacks, fine. Those are setbacks. Those are opportunities for growth. Are you a better person today because of that challenge? Are you stronger? Are you more aware? Are you more cautious? These are your muscle. You're sort of flexing your muscle as you experience more hardships and more challenges, right? As far as those tools that I have learned that I would really want to share, and I do have quite a few mentees. As an adjunct professor, I've had quite a few over the years, mentees, and I enjoy reaching out to them and sharing what I know, and I learn a lot from them too. It's not just a one-way thing. So as far as responding to a challenging situation, as I mentioned, from an early age, my mom would always make sure we focused on that solution. We wanted to be very just careful with how we looked at things. How did we learn and apply, what we learned to this new thing? And if I can share, sort of my mom's approach to this was, her use of some people are familiar with what's the Pareto Principle. It's the the 80-20% rule, where, as a business person, right, she was a proponent of this, and it's it's an aphorism. So it asserts that 80% of outcomes or outputs result from 20% of all causes or inputs for any given event. So, for example, in business, right, you have a goal of the 80-20 rule is to identify those inputs that are potentially most productive and make them the priority. So if you can identify factors that are critical to a company's success, then you should give those factors the most focus. So Mommy applied this rule to most things, but we looked at it more as a precept and not a hard and fast mathematical rule. So she wanted to emphasize the importance of effective planning and execution. So I would tell others, when you come across something, identify that, so that what the problem is, don't waste time, and then spend the rest of your time really on the rest of what you need to do for your next desired outcome.
That's really good advice. Looking at things in a certain mindset, looking at things as a way, like challenges as a way to flex your muscles, build strength and muscle for the next task. And you mentioned transferable skills, and you were able to transfer the skills you learned in one profession over to the other profession that came next, which was what you really desired to do, which was law. Transferable skills, mindset, and also the 80-20 rule, making sure that you keep that in mind with everything in life, it sounds like, is really a good practice to have.
Yes, definitely very helpful. And, when you have a roadmap or some guidance, of course, these things can, you adjust to them. But instead of sort of driving around aimlessly, right, you want to have a plan. You want to, but also recognize that these plans can change. Live in an ever-changing world. But, with practice, you learn to adapt to these changing environments, especially with challenges. I've had my own personal challenge also this year, which I overcame.
Tell us about that.
So this year, just when I was adjusting to not having Mommy around, the pain, and, even though my family and I, we were still very productive, you can't say that we weren't sad about her passing. It was just difficult, but we got our jobs done as we should, as we always did. But this year, on January 24th, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And the day I was diagnosed, I had a business networking event that night, and I attended it. My husband rushed home after I had gotten off the phone with the nurse to confirm that I did have breast cancer. He came home, and he wanted me to stay home. I said, no, I'm going to my business networking event. That is what's on my schedule. I'm going to do that, and we'll talk when I'm done. And so he picked me up, and while in the car, I told him how the event went, and I asked him, can we get some ice cream?
Yeah, you needed a treat after that. Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's when I started crying. I just cried for about 15 minutes, and then when we got home, I was very sad. Of course, I called my sister, and we texted my brother, and then we just spent the evening being sad. But I thought about my mom. That was the first thing, was my mom, who taught me at an early age about that 80-20 rule. So we got right back to work. I envisioned the outcome, right? What we talked about earlier with the 80-20 rule. So I knew that the outcome that we wanted was for me to be cancer-free within a year, if possible, right? And to also continue to run my practice, my law practice, and serve on leadership roles and teach while I was undergoing treatment. I serve on so many committees. I'm actually on 19 committees. And when I found out about cancer, I looked at my schedule, in my mind, I thought, how is this going to affect what I need to do? How can I keep up with my responsibilities? So, of course, we need to find out about the prognosis to help with the planning. And so the family, again, helped. I had a team of doctors who created a treatment plan, and my sister Lynn, who also did her own research to understand the prognosis. She got right to work and created meal plans and scheduled things, and we scheduled surgery as soon as possible. The entire family was there on surgery day. My dad, my brother and sister, everybody.
Yeah.
And I was very comfortable, I would say, because I had already read about what was going to happen. I looked at pictures, everything from what kind of machine am I going to see in the operating room. I wanted to be prepared because that was how comfortable I wanted to be comfortable with what was going to happen. But it was really the family's resilience and my husband's love for me that made this very challenging moment in my life manageable. I was of course there were some days when I was in pain, but I was pretty much, was in great spirits. In fact, 2 days after my surgery, I attended a hearing. Mm-hmm. And of course, I had some colleagues who had emailed and reached out, and they said that they would be willing to appear for me in case I needed any of them to appear. But I wanted to feel normal. I wanted to appear in court. I wanted, and I did, and I was still bandaged up, and I appeared. In fact, I was so convinced everything was normal. I carried my heavy briefcase using the wrong hand.
Oh no!
Yeah, and when by the time I got home, I was just so oblivious to the pain. I was so bruised and in pain. When I got home, I passed out.
Oh my gosh.
I felt better though the following day, and I continued to work, and I avoided any heavy lifting. And so,
yeah. How are you feeling now? Were you able to become cancer-free within a year? I mean, it hasn't been quite a year yet, but
yes, actually, we were looking at a year, but we counted. I only needed 4 months to become cancer-free. I had the surgery, and then I needed to rest. According to the doctor, you need to rest before radiation. Mm-hmm. But I really wanted to have the radiation as soon as possible because I didn't want to interrupt my court schedule. So I had a month-long radiation treatment. And then, that was manageable. This was during COVID. It was manageable. I did my radiation in the morning, and then I worked after that, and I just worked, as long as I could, and I took some breaks, just to sort of rest. And I didn't really feel like I was tired or anything until maybe the last few days. And so after the treatment, I had their final exam, or they're actually not final exams because there's more exams coming up this year, but the doctors determined after the test results, through reviewing the test results, that I was already cancer-free, and I am cancer-free, although I have been placed on daily treatments. I am on daily treatments, and that's supposed to be for a year. So that's kind of a bummer because the medicine has side effects, and I do experience some pain. But you know what, Jessica? I really, if I don't remind myself that it's annoying and painful, then I almost don't notice it. Like, it has to be really painful for me to stop and say, oh, this hurts. I'm just going to stop and rest my leg.
Yeah. So
I keep myself very busy and take breaks. One of the things I learned from my mom is, even though she taught me a lot about what to do, she also taught me about what not to do. And that is, she worked way too hard. She didn't give herself enough break. And so I'm doing that now with my life so that I can continue to serve others. I can continue to run my practice and teach and inspire others and help. And I wouldn't be able to do that if not for my health, and I need to continue to heal.
Yeah, definitely. So it sounds like through your cancer prognosis and diagnosis and treatments, you were able to continue working. You had some points where you were trying to take the rest that you needed, but sometimes you didn't remember that you had the bruising and the bandages, and it was all about mindset, that positive framing of the situation and mindset, but making sure when you do remember just to take those breaks and give yourself that rest that you need. So that's really important, and that's what you've learned from your mom, because she didn't do that. You want to make sure that you do,
Yes,
so you can keep going.
absolutely. And I'm glad you mentioned the mindset, because I am a big proponent of the idea, mind over matter. And in fact, I'm doing a lot more as far as activities, spending a little bit more time on golf. About 20 years ago, I took my very first golf lesson, and I didn't consistently play. I just was not that into it.
Yeah.
But now as I'm getting older and seeing that golf has been a really big part of my husband's life, I began to focus more on improving my game. So this mental sport has helped me hone my ability to focus on one task at a time and not be distracted by external factors. The sport demands complete mental focus and the ability to follow through with every shot. And this to me helped me with just about everything I do. It helped me with coping with cancer. And it helps me a lot of times with client management, one client at a time, one case at a time, and, figure out how to focus on that meeting, with your 100%. Golf has really been one of the tools I've used, because it reminds you that there's so many things you have to do in golf terms. There are many shots, many shots to take, and for every single one of them, there is a strategy in place. So if you have the right stance, the right aim, and the correct mechanics, you have a high probability of hitting the shot that you want.
Yeah.
But you know what? Sometimes, or even, for us, because we're amateurs, a lot of times those hazards affect your shot, right? So what you think about is it doesn't really matter that there are hazards. As long as you believe that the shot that really matters is always your next one, right?
Yeah.
So any challenge that I come across gives me another opportunity to give it my best shot.
Yeah.
So golf has been it's fun, and it teaches me a lot about how to handle things. It does require practice, consistent practice in order to improve. But then again, that's another reminder that in most things in life, right, if we want to improve on anything, then you have to invest the time and effort. I really couldn't think of a much better outlook on life.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And that gets me to my next question and final question. What do you do to start your day on a positive note? We've talked a lot about mindset and how you learned the proper mindset and a good mindset to have from your upbringing. What do you
Yes.
do daily that really gets you in the right mindset for work or for
Yes.
life?
Yes. So I will tell you what I do at the beginning of the day, but I think it's important to mention what I do the night before.
Okay.
So the night before, my husband and I, so he works in the news. So he gets home, he does the 11 o'clock news. And so he gets home fairly late, and I wait for him because we have this ritual at the end of the day before bed. And maybe it sounds corny for a lot of people, but we appreciate this time together where, we recite what we're grateful for the day. I mean,
great.
no
Yeah.
matter how hard things are, today I'm grateful for the following. So maybe, during COVID, some of the days are not so fun, nothing really exciting happened, but surely you can always find 1, 2, or 3 things that you're grateful for. So he would share his, and I would share mine, and then we go to bed. And it sort of sets the, pace, right? Like you're thankful for having lived another day, having lived fully, right? Yeah. And having that sense of gratitude. And so for me, I wake up and I already have, with my Google list, the different tasks, A, B, C in order of priority. So I would look at my list and I would envision the day and how it's going to be. And I just look at myself and sometimes in the mirror and I tell myself, this is just a good day. And today is a really good day to get all these things done. Some people meditate, and I have done that before too. And I actually do a chant. And so I chant this Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, and it's sort of a philosophy that I've been a practice that I've been involved with. And so through my chanting for about 15, 20 minutes a day, I set the tone for the day and what I'm going to do, what's going to happen. And just really, no matter how hard, maybe you're in pain that morning, or maybe you're just annoyed at what you have to do, just sort of shift your focus, change your physiology, because sometimes when you're kind of slumped or, if you change your physiology and you force a smile, right? You force a smile and you force yourself to think about the greens instead of the browns, right? Then your mindset, you're in that mindset, and you're sort of looking at you're already in a positive tone, and you're telling yourself, it's a new day. Every day above ground is a good day for me.
Yeah.
So no matter what the challenge is, there are going to be some hazards today. I'm sure some of them I haven't seen, or I didn't think was going to happen, but no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, I really like that. And thanks for sharing your tools of gratitude and making sure that you have your list or your, however what your day is going to look like, and just enforcing that smile. Like you said, the physiology of that really, really matters. And even if you have to force the smile, do it, because it changes things in your body and your brain. Well, that is wonderful. Well, thank you, Mika, so much for sharing all these wonderful insights and sharing your story. In the show notes, I'll make sure to have all of your information where people can get in touch with you and more about your business that you founded, Domingo Law Group. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Thanks for having me.
Catalyst for Change, and my name is Jessica Huckabee, your host. Join us next week for another story of resiliency. And please subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts, and feel free to leave me a comment or email me at catalystforchange20@gmail.com, or on Facebook, we have a page at Catalyst for Change Resiliency.